Why does the majority of the English-speaking anime community hate English dub? It doesn't make sense on paper, because who would opt in to watch something outside of their native language? You rarely hear any Japanese people talking about watching in English and reading subtitles, so why do we do it? Well, there's a couple reasons, but the one that seems to be a recurring main issue is the lack of emotion in the dialogue compared to the Japanese version. Take these two for example. With the Japanese side of things, you can really feel the emotion behind the laughing with the intensity, and most importantly, it doesn't feel like voice acting. The English dub sounds good in its own regard, but it's when you put them in comparison is where the disparities appear. The laughing sounds forced, and you can tell it's acting, and the person is trying their hardest to sound like they're actually losing their mind, whereas the original sounds natural, like the actor was born to play this role. I mean, even in the beginning clips with Eren's voice actor had so much more flair than the dub. Yuki Kaji actually sounds like he's physically hurting himself to fully capture that raw desperation. So naturally, the perfectly rational course of action is to watch it in sub always. But what is the reason for an English dub to feel like it has so much less substance in it? Well, part of that comes down to the cultural differences in acting styles. Japanese voice actors train for years in a style that's all about exaggeration, emotion, and bringing animated characters to life in a way that feels larger than life. Their whole industry treats anime voice acting as a serious craft. These actors perform in front of live audiences, release music, and are sometimes just as famous as on-screen actors. But in the West, voice acting for anime has been treated very differently. For a long time, anime dubbing was seen as a niche job, something for side gigs or lower tier projects. It wasn't always taken seriously, and because anime wasn't mainstream in the US or Europe like it was in Japan, the budgets were often low, the recording schedules were tight, and the directors were inexperienced with anime's unique style. On top of that, Western acting tends to value realism. In Hollywood or Western animation, characters don't usually scream in agony unless you're actually dying. But in anime, characters scream because they're emotional, whether they're angry or scared, and sometimes just because they're passionate. So when the Western voice actors approach anime, they sometimes apply this more restrained, naturalistic style, which can feel out of place in the heightened world of anime. Instead of matching the energy of the visuals, the English dub ends up feeling toned down. And when they do try to go all out, sometimes it sounds awkward or forced, because they weren't trained in the same way the Japanese actors were. And that's really where the disconnect happens. Anime thrives on intensity, exaggerated emotions, and the raw performances. If your acting doesn't match that energy, no matter how technically good it may sound, it feels off. So when you compare the two versions, it's easy to see why we can gravitate towards the one that feels more authentic to the story's tone. Of course, not every English dub is bad. There are some amazing ones out there, but when those dubs work, it's because the actors fully embrace the energy of the medium, rather than trying to downplay it. Take Dragon Ball Battle of Gods. When Goku transforms again, Sean Schemmel pours everything into that scream. It's raw and almost painful to listen to in the best way possible. He's matching the moment, not holding back because it might sound cringe. Or look at the more recent examples like Jujutsu Kaisen and Solo Leveling. These shows have seen major improvement in English dubbing because the actors understand the tone of modern anime. They're not trying to make it sound like a Western cartoon or a Netflix drama. They're playing it as anime, with all the intensity and flair that comes with it. So clearly, it's not impossible for dub to be great. It's not like English speakers can't deliver top tier performances. The problem happens when the performance feels like it's just someone reading lines, instead of fully immersing themselves into the character. And to that point, I think another contributing factor to the dislike in dub is the recycling of the same exact actors. Don't get me wrong, Japan reuses actors all the time too. Big names like Yuki Kaji, Mamoru Miyano, and Oi Yuki show up in tons of series, but somehow it doesn't pull you out of the experience the same way it does in English. Because in Japan, voice actors change their vocal tone, delivery, and even personality from role to role. One day Mamoru is a serious and calculating Yagami, the next he's the goofy and chaotic Dazai from Bungo Stray Dogs. Same voice actor, but the characters feel completely different because of the acting choices. In contrast, with English dubs, it often feels like the same exact voice and delivery copy and pasted onto multiple characters. Bryce Papenbrook, as much as I respect his work and has done amazing things for the anime community, tends to sound exactly like himself, whether he's Kirito from Sword Art Online, Eren from Attack on Titan, or Rin from Blue Exorcist. His range isn't bad, but it's recognizably him every single time, and that breaks immersion. Instead of hearing a character, you kind of hear the actor. And because the English voice acting pool is smaller, especially for anime dubs, you hear the same handful of voices over and over. Johnny Bosch, Erica Mendez, Cherami Leigh, Matthew Mercer, they're all amazing actors, but they pop up constantly. But I think the Shaquille O'Neal of this space has to be Aaron Dismuke. Just to list a few of his shows, we got Classroom of the Elite, Dr. Stone, Full Metal Alchemist, Blue Lock, Tokyo Ghoul, and the list goes on. And just like having actor fatigue and constantly seeing the same actors in everything, you have voice actor fatigue as well. I thought it was just a me problem when it came to not being able to see the current character you're watching because the other character has the exact same voice. Then I did some deep dives into others expressing the exact same concern, but I don't think the answer is to hate dubs forever. In fact, I almost never watch English sub over dub if I had the chance. It might sound crazy, but not having to glue your eyes to a screen for 20 straight minutes is a fair trade-off. Also, dubs are important because they make it more accessible to the people who struggle with subtitles. Like, I know for a fact when I sparked Dragon Ball and Naruto, I couldn't sit there and read the screen while watching at 6 years old. Imagine a newer audience now that anime is somewhat mainstream. The first step is to watching something in its own language. The actual voice acting quality will become more relevant as they get deeper into it, but in the beginning, it's never the concern just being able to actually keep up. The real solution is giving more voice actors a chance. The anime dubbing space needs fresh voices, new talent who are willing to take it to the next level and match the emotional intensity of the original performances instead of playing it safe. Studios also need to treat anime dubbing as a serious craft and not just a fast budget job to fill a release schedule. But the shift is already in motion, as we've seen with Chainsaw Man and Solo Leveling. Overall, the hate toward English dubs isn't really about the language itself, it's about the passion and intensity. When those things are missing, you can feel it. The dub can also be just as iconic as a sub if we can incorporate the same exact formula to the original. And maybe one day, you won't even have this debate.